Hi everyone, welcome back to 33 Founders. I'm really excited that you're with us today because I'm here with Oz and Shadiah, two of the co-founders of Honeybook. Thank you guys so much for being with me.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
So one of my favorite things about Honeybook is that your mission is to create magic. Tell me how you're creating magic for users who are coming to plan an event and then for a partner who's coming to list their services on the site.
Oh man, you started good. That's definitely our favorite topic, creating magic. You want me to start, or are you going to take it?
I think you should take this
Okay,
one.
I'll
You own
take
the
this
magic.
I'll
Hashtag around here.
So it's interesting, we look at the events industry in general, and we see how every vendor in this industry, if you look at a photographer, for example, promises his customers, his clients, that he's gonna take beautiful pictures of the event. He's gonna document the event, and actually, that's very true. The photographer in the event is gonna own your memory. If you look 2 years back on your wedding day, whatever you remember is actually these beautiful photos, beautiful moments. So when you think about it, this photographer is creating magic. He's gonna create your memory. And then when you look at a florist, it's the same thing. Right, the florist will look at the concept of the event, and will in the end of the day will choose like the right flower with the right color and the right smell that will make the entrance to this event an amazing experience. So when we see all these vendors promise and deliver magic to their customers, then we can't not notice the fact that at the very first moment when they meet with these customers, the interaction and communication between them is far from magic. It involves contracts and signing them and sending it, through email. And then it involves checks and cash.
Printers and faxes.
And it's exactly the opposite from magic. And this is not a world that we want to live in. Right? And it's not a world that we are used to live in. Like, I don't even know how to write a check. I just don't do it. So when we went through this phase of getting married, and that was kind of our entrance to the events industry, which is, the wedding is just part of this industry. But what we discovered is that we need to go through all this weird, outdated process. And when we sat together and talked about it, and we noticed that it's far from magic, we decided that we're going to change this. And we're going to create magic from every single part of this process, from the booking, through the planning, through the events itself. And that's kind of our mission in the end of the day.
Great. Can you give us a couple of the events that you guys have helped your partners host? Because the pictures are gorgeous on the site.
Yeah, so we're not necessarily, we're an extension of the vendor, right, and of that entire process. So while we're not on site and we're not necessarily responsible for being there on the day of the event, we do help to enable the entire planning and collaboration and communicating process that happens to get to that magical moment. Right? So, for example, we know that a lot of our customers who are event professionals, they're planning. Corporate galas, right? They're doing nonprofit fundraisers. They're doing weddings. They're doing birthday parties. So anywhere where you have a lot of different vendors coming together to create this awesome experience for the client, Honeybook is helping those vendors along the way.
Great. So what would you guys say are the top 3 problems that your customers are facing in that light, and then how do you help them solve it?
So when you ask about our customers, it's first of all, we need to define who is a customer. And our customer, when we looked at the events industry, we look at this $300 billion industry, one of the biggest industries in the US. But what was interesting is the dynamics of this industry. And the dynamics was that the vendors, the sellers in this industry are calling the shots and not the buyers. This is very different from maybe any other industry. And the reason is very simple. The buyers normally are doing it, once a year if it's a corporate, or once in a lifetime if it's a wedding. So when you do something once in a lifetime and you meet a vendor that does it every week, you're not going to influence the way that he's doing business. Therefore, we understood from the very beginning that our customer has to be the vendor, has to be that person that does it on a weekly basis. So when you ask an example of how we solve our customers' needs, so that's a very interesting question, because we needed to define what are these needs that are common to all the different vendors. And one of the needs that we found out from the very beginning was actually, managing these clients, the end clients, the brides or corporates or galas that need attention from the vendor in the booking process. So generating proposals, signing the contracts, getting paid from all these different clients, making sure that I have leads that are coming in through my website and that I can track them, and making sure that I give the attention to this customer that requested my proposal. So these kind of things, from the get-go, were the pains that we solved at the very beginning. And again, obviously that's just the beginning, because moving forward, we're looking at the scope of all of the relationship between the vendors and the clients, and even the vendors and the vendors, which is another very interesting aspect of what we're doing, which is, tapping on the ecosystems of the vendors and their networks.
How did you guys figure that out? I love how you put it, that from the outside. So for me, I would perceive that I'm your customer because I'm coming to plan my event via Honeybook to get connected to all of these vendors. But you guys learned early on that you really needed to target the vendors. What was that learning process like?
Well, actually, so for the learning process was very personal. But first, I just want to clarify that, as let's say you as the client, you don't come to Honeybook to plan your wedding, right? Right now, there's not a way for you to do that. What it is that we work with the vendor. Then the vendor uses Honeybook. We enable the vendor to now communicate with you as your client, right? So perfect. If you're lucky, your vendors will be on Honeybook, and it's actually our job and our duty to make sure that all of the very best vendors are using Honeybook, so that next year or 2 years from now, when it's time for you to plan your next event, you are going to ask these vendors, are you on Honeybook? And that's actually going to mean something to you, right? It's going to be a stamp of approval. But let me go back to your question about how we were inspired. So it was very personal, right? We how did we realize that actually that the consumer doesn't have a lot of power in this play? Mm-hmm. Well, because I was married to my husband, and then Oz was married to his wife Nama, who's also our co-founder. And we sat down around coffee one day, and we realized that the pain points of planning our own weddings were so similar. Mind you, they got married in Israel. I got married in the U.S. We both planned our own weddings, and we found the pain points were exactly the same. And we thought, how could it be? And we weren't the only ones, right? Our friends, anyone you go and ask, they will moan about the fact that it's such a complicated, outdated, antiquated process to just work with the vendors, right? The wedding day is beautiful, but what about like the 9 to 12 months of schlepping through papers and emails and phone calls and faxes and so on? So we thought, gee, if all of these millions of consumers each year are moaning about this, why are things the way that they are? What happened to the events industry that it got stuck in the 80s? So that's when we started to examine the dynamics here, right? We realized the vendors are at the core of the industry. This is their livelihood. They're doing this day in and day out.
And we went to the vendors and we asked them, why don't you accept online payments? I want to pay you I want to pay you by credit card. And we've seen that vendors are reacting back and saying, oh, I don't do that. And again, it's not that that the events and weddings, etc., it's like it's on a different planet. It's at the same day exactly that you would never think about paying something with cash, like something else. At the same day exactly, you or with a check, you meet a vendor and suddenly you pay with a check, so that's how we came to a realization that probably the vendors are the ones that kind of influencing this.
Great. So I want to shift gears for just a couple of minutes and talk about your journey to get where you guys are today. So you started from Israel and you decided to come to Silicon Valley. I'm sure that was a hard decision. Why did you decide that you needed to come and you needed to be here in this ecosystem?
So in Israel, we got married, and after the wedding, we start thinking about these things, and thinking about Israel is a very small market. It's only 7 million people. It's the size of New Jersey. So if you want to really build something big and influence, people around the world, you can't we believe that we have to understand that it's not only our pains, it's other people in the world that are having the same pain. It's not just an Israeli thing. And we met someone in Tel Aviv that had this program in Palo Alto, and he said, "Look, if you want." By the way, his name is Gil Ben-Artzi, and the program was Upwest Labs. And Gil said, "Look, if you really want to see how it works in the rest of the world, and obviously you're going to target the American industry, you should ASAP, hop on a plane and be in Palo Alto, and meet your market there." And when we moved to Palo Alto, which was a week later, we met Shadiah the following months, and we sat together and we talked about our experiences. And we met through a mutual friend that connected between us, which, by the way, is something that happens a lot, in Silicon Valley, and this ecosystem of pay it forward and connect people. And we were sitting in, I think it was Venezia.
Cafe Venezia, in Palo Alto.
In Palo Alto.
Very famous.
On the second floor, and we were talking about our experiences. And Shadiah just got married, and we just noticed immediately that I think that a few things just popped out. One was we both had Excel sheets, and we were very proud of our Excel sheets, very comprehensive. And then we both had all these contracts, and we both paid with cash and checks. And that was our aha moment. It's the whole world is like that. It's not an Israeli thing. And we just decided, okay, let's combine forces and let's start. And this is kind of where, at this stage we raised our angel money, the seed round, and we kind of started out and started experimenting on the industry, on the market, and trying to understand, okay, so where do we start? And this is how we got to the realization of what we talked before about the fact that the vendors are ones calling the shots.
What was it like, your fundraising experience? Because that was pretty soon after you arrived in Palo Alto, right?
Yes. So it was a very interesting experience. Lots of tough moments where we felt that it would never happen. And, mind you, we didn't I didn't come from this ecosystem of startups. I didn't know that I want to build a startup. I thought that I am gonna build a company, like a business. That I'm gonna build a product and we're gonna sell it. And someone sat down with me and said, "You know what, Oz? You need to raise money." And I said, "And what do you mean I need to raise money?" And that person said, "Well, you go to an investor, an angel investor." That was the first time I heard the term angel investor, an angel. And this investor will give you $100,000. And I was amazed. I was looking at him, and first of all, I thought he was mad. But secondly, I'm like, okay, why would someone give me $100,000? And he said, "Well, because you're going to give him part of your company." I said, "Okay, so which part exactly?" And he said, "You need to give them like 30% of your company." And I thought, like, holy crap, the company is worth like $300,000? This is crazy. Little did I know, a few months later, we raised $1 or $2 million. And that's and today I look back and I laugh at that. But going into the phase of raising the money, that was an experience of learning that it's not about going to investors and explaining to them that I have a great opportunity, but it's about getting to know the investors and building the relationships with them and finding the right people that, one, connect to the vision. Like, they don't connect to the fact that it's a great opportunity, they connect to the vision. They want to be part of this vision. They believe that the world should look the way that you want it to look, and they're willing to give their time, more than their money, it's their time to kind of work together and do that and get there. And secondly, that you have this personal, chemistry between you, that you want to spend time together. One of our investors, and the one who led the seed round, was Bobby Lent and Boris Potanek, which they're partners in Hillsville. And Boris and I meet once every 2 weeks for lunch, ever since 2 years ago. And that kind of relationship, you want to make sure that it's an investor that you want to spend that time with. At the same round exactly, we had James Currier, who's an amazing advisor and investor of ours, and we spend a lot of time together, strategizing. Is that a word? Strategizing?
Absolutely. It sounds like what you're saying is that you're going into marriage with these people.
Exactly.
Let's hope that you like them enough to see them every 2 weeks.
Yeah. But I think that, again, and if the audience to this are entrepreneurs, I would say that, the first shift is to understand that we're not raising money, going to investors, angel investors, and telling them, look, I have this great opportunity for you. You're gonna invest $1 million, and one day you're gonna have $100 million. They couldn't care about this. Most of them have enough money, to the extent where it's not gonna change anything in their life. They're gonna have the same life, and most of them are actually modest people that just have a very casual lifestyle. So it has to be about something else. And what we found out, it was about the chemistry and sharing vision, etc. And this is something that I would say that every entrepreneur needs to understand. Like, the sooner you understand this, the better. And and the chances are higher that you will successfully raise money and find a good partner.
Once you have that chemistry with someone, what are the next steps?
So the next steps are that the chemistry, you have the chemistry when you see that person wants to join you. That person says, hey, look, I really enjoy working together with you. I feel that, I love where this company is going. I love the team. I want to work with Shadiah, Dror, Naama, and you. And I have all these ideas. I can't sleep at night. I really want to be part of this. And when you hear that from an investor, you understand this investor is serious, and and he wants to be part of this. And the next steps are to say, okay, well, we are raising this amount of money for this valuation. And by the way, we all know that the valuations, it's a fiction, right? In the end of the day, we're raising this amount of money, and probably you're going to take 20% of the business. So if you raise $1 million, your valuation is $4 million pre-money. So it doesn't really matter the valuation. What does matter is that this is what the company needs, and if they come in, this is what they're going to get. They want to own a large, share of the company, to be a large stakeholder. So the next steps will be the investor will say, okay, this is what I want to invest. Maybe I want to take the whole, the $1 million. And then the entrepreneur will say, okay, so let's look at this, and you can bring this and that to the table. However, we would need a lot of help with the network. Maybe we'll need PR. Maybe we'll need partnerships. And the investor will say, well, I can help a lot. with these partnerships, but with PR and the network, I'm not sure that I can help with. I can't help recruiting, for example. So then a smart entrepreneur will say, okay, and a smart investor, of course, will say, well, let's not invest the whole million by one investor. Let's invest $800,000 and leave $200,000 for other investors that can come in and help. And that will be a very smart move of an investor and an entrepreneur, where they say, okay, we're going to do this round. It's going to happen. And we're going to leave this amount. And we're going to take our time to look for the right partners that can really help the company.
So then when you moved on to your Series A and your Series B, did you have not necessarily individuals as a person, but individuals with a certain skill set in mind for what you needed for Honeybook?
Out of the investors in Series A and Series B?
Yeah, when you were going to raise your Series A and Series B, did you know that you were going to need some investors who had specific expertise?
So I think the Series B is a very good example where we knew that Honeybook is going to be it's going to invest heavily on the transactions and financing side of the events industry. And when we look around, one of the most successful IPOs of 2014, if not the most successful, was Lending Club. And it's a company that does peer-to-peer lending with a lot of transaction volume and financing going on. And when we looked at this company that I knew for the last year or two, and I was even kind of obsessed about this company, which I really like, we looked at who invested in this company at the early stage. And one of the investors who was very dominant in this company was Jeff Crow from Norwest Venture Partners. So for us to be able to partner with someone like Jeff Crow was a huge thing. So these were the kind of investors that we looked at. We wanted partners like Jeff to join our board, and because we knew that he would understand so many of the challenges that we have. And we were very lucky to end up with getting Jeff to join the company. But that goes back to what we talked before about the chemistry and working together. I have to say that, and sharing the vision together. So when you look at the investors that joined us in Series A, it was Michael Eisenberg from Aleph. And Michael is helping the company a lot. Just I think 2 hours ago, Shad asked if Michael can help us recruit this specific role that Shadiah wants to recruit for. And my response was, wait, but we can do it too. Why do we need Michael? But Shadiah and I are so used already to all this help that Michael is giving us that we're like, okay, let's use Michael for that too. He's so successful with finding us people. But what's interesting about Michael and then Jeff is that when Michael invested in Series A, he was going through planning his daughter's wedding. When Jeff invested in Series B, surprisingly, he was going through planning his daughter's wedding. So when you look at sharing understanding the vision and wanting to be part of something, you see that in both cases, these investors understood. They understood the vision. They want to be part of this. But then when you look at the chemistry, both investors spent a lot of time with us. I can easily say that with Jeff in the Series B, we probably spent at least 30 hours together.
Wow.
Talking a lot. Jeff came to our office at least 6 times, if not more. He spent time with the leadership of this company. He spent a lot of time together with me. We went for dinner a few times and for drinks. And with that chemistry that being built, and the fact that he understood the vision, he connected to the vision, we felt very comfortable working with Jeff. We wanted him on our board. This is what, in the end of the day, nurtures the round to a Series B.
Okay, that is the best description of fundraising I've heard. I feel like I just went to Fundraising 101. Thank you.
I think that's another way of saying you talk a lot.
Yeah, I do.
It's a good way of saying you rock. I really appreciate it. So the next part, you mentioned one of the things of fundraising is making sure that you guys have the chemistry and that the investor shares your vision. So obviously, sharing of the vision is the same thing that's going to translate when you're bringing on new team members. What's your experience been like hiring, and how do you know when someone really shares your vision? Because you guys are such a tight-knit group of founders. How do you know that someone's going to share that passion?
Well, we have invested a lot of time and are becoming much better at interviewing. So I'm just going to be really practical about this answer and say that we've learned a ton, and our learning curve has been like this, and being able to really zero in really quickly at the more and more interviews that the more and more candidates that we interview, you understand how it is that they operate. But I think that having well thought out interviews is really revealing. I also think that the other thing that helps us to guide our decisions in hiring people is that we have 5 core values, and they're really obvious to everyone, right? It's people come first, we are fearless, we go the extra mile, we love what we do, and we are family. And if any one of these, like any one of these core values, typically resonates a ton with any given candidate, right? Like any candidate comes in, when they hear the 5, they say, you know what? I absolutely love the fact that you say that you put people first, right? And then we say, okay, tell me about that. And then that's when you get to know immediately whether a person is a good fit, not just skills based, right? Are they competent? Are they going to be awesome at this job? But can they actually connect to something that's so intrinsic in the culture and in the DNA of Honeybook? So we use the 5 core values a lot to have conversations with candidates.
So when it comes to the core values, and so let's say you're interviewing me and I really identify with one of the values, but I don't have exactly the skill set that you're looking for, will you take a risk on someone, or is it better for founders to find someone who has like equal skill and equal passion?
So it really depends on the phase of the company and where we are at exactly. I like to say that every month I feel like I work for a totally different company, and it's really true. So at the beginning, we optimized on journalists or generalists, not journalists, who can do many different things. And we didn't really care about the specific experience of something because we knew that we don't know what we're going to do tomorrow morning. It's gonna shift, it's gonna change. But what we're finding out is today, when we have a sales team and a sales development team and a customer experience, success, support, community, suddenly we really need these skill sets that we don't have. For the same reason I didn't even know that I should raise money. There's so many other things we don't know. And I think the most important thing more than anything else is what Shadiah defined as the learning curve that we have with every single thing. So again, as you look at the skill sets, we put a lot of emphasis on the culture fit, and this is something that is extremely important for us. But at the same time, today we're in a point of time that we can't compromise on the skill set.
Totally. I think as the company matures, it becomes more and more important that we are able to narrow in on what that specific need is and have extremely high standards for somebody to come in and be able to totally deliver on day one.
Great. On the note of not knowing what's going to happen and feeling like you're working for a different company every month, Shadiah, you've shared before that every day is different for you as one of the co-founders of Honeybook, and I'm sure the same goes for you, Oz. How do you deal with that just personally? Because I'm trying to deal with that, and it's not that fun. There's some parts that I don't like.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just spent 2 hours on the phone with Oz yesterday on a Sunday, and we were just shooting the shit and kind of bitching and whining a little bit. And so one of the things that you do is you kind of lean on your co-founders, right? Because you're all going through really similar things. Of course, as the company grows, and our teams get bigger, we end up owning more and more. We know more of what's going on in our teams, and it's harder to look sideways to see what's happening with the other leaders in the company. So for me, having lots of conversations, keeping that communication open with my co-founders and with just just other people in the company is awesome, because you actually know that other people are going through similar emotions. And that actually just felt really good. Like, it felt good to just get things off of my chest and be like, okay, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, follow up on that. Cool. John is our COO. So he called me an hour later after we had a phone call, and I said to John, hey, look, Shadiah and Oz and I are depressed here and talking about stuff. Do you want to join? And John, and John said, well, I don't know about you. I'm not depressed at all. I think things are going very well, and I'm extremely excited about what's going to happen next week. And I'm like, okay, so you're not part of our group. So see you tomorrow. Anyways, so yeah, definitely. I think that I definitely enjoy the every day is a different day. And more than that, I enjoy the fact that we are so lucky that the universe gave us this opportunity to do whatever we want and to play in this game. You know, because I don't believe that someone who's sane, has insanity, will give me the opportunity to do what I'm doing. But as entrepreneurs, we're like, okay, you are going to be this, and you're going to take this title, and I'm going to play this title, and this is what we're going to do all day long. And this is cool.
Yeah, and I have to say, we start off on a little bit of a negative note, because you're like, how do you cope? But in reality, we're actually really optimistic people. We're generally really happy. Kind of probably a little bit to an annoying extent, I think some might say, but it works. It's a Honeybook language. And I also have to put a plug in for my husband, because he is also the person that I cry on his shoulder, and he would be so mad if he saw this interview and saw that I didn't mention him.
No, you have everyone in there, and I love that. So you guys have that tight-knit group as co-founders, and then you extend it to your team. What do you want it to mean culturally when somebody says, I work at Honeybook?
That's a good question. First of all, I want them to say I'm a honeybooker.
I like
and
that.
And then what does that mean? Okay, so you're a honeybooker, and it means that first of all you do put people first. You know, it's not just something that we say. When we see, like, you know, an email that we are very embarrassed by that came out of our team, you know, we take these things to heart. So in a way, what we want is that a honeybooker is someone who has the same values, who feels that he wants to create magic, you know, and creating magic is in our core values. It's going the extra mile, and we see that you know, people in our team are overkilling on something and going the extra mile. We're like, oh, he's a honeybooker. You know, this is how you do that. And we want to see that person fearless. We want to see that you take risk and that you're very proud about what you're doing. You love what you do, and that you're proud of our family. And again, I'm obviously repeating our core values, but this is what we want to see in every honeybooker. And by the way, we expect the same thing from our customers and from our investors. They're honeybookers too.
I love that you emphasize going the extra mile, because I know that you guys have an obsession with your customers, and that's so important. I just had a poor customer experience that I've been trying to just get a part replaced on a kitchen appliance, and it's been over 3 months, and now they don't want to send it to me. So why do you think that obsession with your customer and the commitment to go the extra mile from everyone on your team, not just the 4 founders, is so vital to where you are today?
I mean, so the industry that we work in, it's a customer-centric industry, right? Our customers are constantly giving great service to their customers. So we're just trying to speak the same language that they speak, right? And this is, so as much as we can, we emulate what our customers expect and how they are and how they behave with their customers, which is that event professionals are giving top-notch premium experiences to their end clients. So that's why, to me, it's really important to essentially to mimic that. Also, I expect great customer service. Like I expect it. Like I go to Nordstrom for a reason. I shop on Zappos for a reason, and I try to get as many things on Amazon for a reason, because I expect that if anything happens, I'm going to get great, delightful service. And our customers have come to expect the same exact thing from us.
And you asked at the beginning, like, why did we move to the US? This is the land of customer service, of great customer service. And obviously, many times we can improve. But this is just something we just enjoy. We enjoy doing. We enjoy serving.
And I want to give you one example, one awesome example of one of the ways that one of our employees went above and beyond to give amazing service recently. So we're hosting a 100-person event. It's an educational series where we're going to have a speaker come and deliver a presentation to 100 people in our community, right? So our customers, our would-be customers, and so on. And we actually found that a few people couldn't make it because they didn't have they couldn't take care of their kids, right? They couldn't find a babysitter. So our employee went and essentially got another employee to sign up as babysitter. So now at this event, we're going to have a totally separate babysitting room, and we're going to get 1 or 2 or 3 babysitters depending on demand, and we're going to take care of our customers' kids so that they can come and be, the small business mompreneurs that they are, and be able to, get their groove on.
That's really impressive. I don't think I've ever heard of someone doing that before. Props to whatever teammate did that.
Props to Leslie.
So I want to take the last couple of minutes and talk about the future. Oz, when we started out, you said 2 years ago you had no idea that you wanted to have a startup. So this scaling has been huge for you guys. If you had to step back for just a second and share the one highlight each of you, what's one thing that just will really stand out about these first 2 foundational years?
For me, what stands out is the culture that was built here. The same way that we are building a product for an industry because we want this industry to work in the way that we see the world. The culture that we built here is of a company, exactly the company that we would like to work in, and again, the way that we see the world. So what stands out in these 2 years, I think, is the culture that was built here.
Yeah, I have to say something similar. Specifically, the fact that people come first in this company. That we're always thinking about people. That our staff, our employees, will think about each other, be considerate to each other. The fact that they will think about our customers and think about our customers. I absolutely love the fact that one of the core values that really is embodied at this company is that people come first. And when you take a survey across the company and you ask them, what are some of your favorite core values? So this is the one that comes up the most, actually.
Well, I think that's certainly.
And another thing that happened on a more macro level is Honeybook put the spotlight on the events industry. When you look at the VC point of view, and we hear it from many companies in our space that now kind of investors and VCs believe in this space, and they're like, okay, this is an interesting industry, and we need to be part of this. And you see many funding rounds being happening all around, and this is something that we believe that we changed in these 2 years.
So a couple of upcoming exciting things. You guys are moving into a new office, right?
Yes. Well, we are kind of, we just grew out of this office, which we really like, and we can actually give you a quick tour just to show you. Okay, do it.
Do it.
Okay. So we're now leaving the conference room here, which is like the last place that you can, have your quiet moment and an interview. But then when you go out, you're here. So you have the SDRs and account managers, account executives.
Oh, wow. That is an awesome space. Don't leave.
And we're going back. So when we moved in here, they told us that the maximum number of people that you can have would be 22. Or I think it was 20 or 22. Which we knew that once we hit this number, we'll need to move. Anyway, today we're 28 people here, and we are definitely, we definitely need to move ASAP. Hopefully we close a deal not far from here to a much larger office that should host us for the next couple of years. But as for today, we're taking this call from this beautiful conference room, but normally we take calls from the bathroom, from the closet.
The washer, dryer, closet.
Yeah. You can click on this.
I love it. So then for the next 12 months, in addition to that, what are a couple of goals that you guys have that we can wait to see come out of Honeybook?
Boy.
Yeah. So launching in different cities in the U.S., hopefully like all the major cities, and just pushing more and more features and great products out there. In the end of the year, engaging more with the consumer and what we call before the end client, and just growing this company. We're now 40. We were 12 months ago. And 12 months from now, we're going to be like 120. So just hyper growth.
Yeah, I think you're going to expect to see a company that's going to be much bigger, but not just for the sake of being bigger, but for the sake of actually reaching a lot of our market. We are quickly becoming the most trusted, customer-centric company in the space. This is our brand. And it resonates. It resonates deeply with our vendors, right, for the reasons that I said before, and that is that we look and feel and act as them. And nobody was speaking their language before, so our goal is to grow and then to be able to maintain that same level of high-quality service that we've been able to maintain so far.
I love it. I want to come work for you guys.
Do it.
I'll pack up here. So before we go, can you just let us know how everyone can stay up to date with what you're doing? I know you guys have a great blog.
Yep, I would say that's the number one way is to subscribe to our blog on our blog page, and we're going to be able to keep you updated with our newest and latest.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being with me today.
Thank you. I actually really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much, Jenna.